Hey everybody, this is Everyman with Everyman's 40K channel, and this will be our third installment of our Chaos Knight Rampager painting series. So we're going to do the armor today. As you can see me pointing out here, we're going to shoulder pads, we're going to do the power cell and the carapace. So let me go ahead, let me grab this thing and flip it over. We're also going to obviously do the Knight legs. Then we're going to hit the knee pads, thigh pads, and then the modesty loincloth kind of in the middle, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to use three colors. We're going to start with a rich crimson red, right? A little bit of a deeper red to kind of formulate our base. Then we're going to come in here and go lighter and lighter with a scarlet, and then a cadmium red light, all in heavy bodied paints. So kind of heavy pigmented, right? So lots of pigment, really thick. We're going to go with the crimson again, like I said, because we do want that deeper base. Then we're going to mix it in with the light scarlet, maybe some blood red, and then cadmium light red here. We're going to throw in some ink, and again, that is towards the end, right? Towards the end of this episode, but if you want to go check that out immediately, zip on over to the end. You're going to see a lot. I mean, we got a lot done. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. So in these next series of clips, you can see why I chose to go with a paintbrush versus an airbrush. Just very specific, and I can't have the airbrush kind of making this fuzzy haze. I need very controlled and direct placement of paint. Again, I don't want to overspray all the other hard work that we've already done. So again, that's why we went with the brush. Okay, so a big theme of how I paint, as you guys know, is drying time, right? So we're going to put this aside. We're going to let this dry, this first coat, because we definitely don't want to start a second coat and reactivate or re-wet the first one. So again, put this down, let it dry. Okay, so what we discussed in the first part of the video, we're going to go with our scarlet, and we're going to introduce some like 1994 or 1997 red wash from GW. And yeah, that stuff is probably that old. So you can use a red ink or anything else. I'm just choosing to use this red wash because I have it. We're going to mix it in with the scarlet just so that we don't reduce the scarlet down with plain water to get rid of the pigment. Okay, so we're adding the red wash or red ink or even the blood red that I showed you before on the speed paints, right? And only just to maintain the pigments, okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over this whole model, all the red spots, one more time. So again, it's basically a second coat. Now let me explain the reason for the pigmented additional medium, right? So the reason we're going with something that's pigmented but a different viscosity is so that we can reduce the heavy bodied paint down without actually reducing the pigment, right? So and again, the reason we're reducing the heavy bodied pigment down instead of using water, right, is to thin it out so that on this second coat it lays down really nicely. Okay, I'm not going to go ahead and make you guys watch this because it's the same as what we just got done going through. Okay, so let me go ahead, get a second coat on here, and then I'll be back. Okay, so second coat is complete. And now what we're gonna do, let me show you the model, right? So we got the little skull cap piece done. I almost forgot that, but yeah, we got the little skull piece. Now here, as you can see, we moved this forward, and it takes a lot of time to go over all these brass pieces. As you can see, all over the model, underneath, everywhere. Now, that center piece, okay, check that center piece out. That is my test piece, and it is done. You can see it's got the black wash, and it's got the final red, okay? And then here, remember we said we're gonna get out some black, and go ahead, and as you can tell here, we've washed in black. So that's the next step. That's what we're gonna show you. We're gonna get all these pieces into black. Then we're going to go ahead and bring that cadmium light red into play. Again, for the sense of time, what we're going to do is we're only going to tackle this shoulder pad, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with a black ink, okay, instead of using an oil. And this is the black ink right here. It's just an India ink. On our metallics, we went ahead and used GW's Brazen Brass. And then we went ahead with another color here from P3. I think it's Brass Balls, yeah. Okay, so that's our colors for the metallics. And now we're gonna go ahead and get into the washing. The first thing, okay, the first thing you have to do, or at least I would advise, is you want to wet the surface. And what you'll do is after I get my ink all laid out on my little white pad here, is you'll see me first wet the surface and get it all so that basically the ink will flow into the cracks and crevices and not go on a dry surface, okay? And yeah, right here. So this is me pre-wetting the surface, the whole thing. And then when you touch it with the ink, you'll see it diffuse, or again, what we call the capillary effect, work its way across the miniature. Okay, so, all right, I'll be quiet now and let you guys see what we're going to do here. So now what I'm doing here is I'm just doing a little touch up, kind of moving the ink around just to get it where I want it, so to speak. Certain areas I want dark, certain areas I want light. But yeah, that's it. That's a wrap. Now, time to let it dry just like everything else. And then on to the next part, which is the cadmium light red. All right, so after a overnight drying session, we're gonna go ahead and get the cadmium red light out, okay? And again, this is my go-to color for corn. It has kind of a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange tint to it, but excellent, excellent red. So this process I'm going to get ready to explain to you guys is something I've developed, again, just over the years. I don't know what you would call this process. I don't know if this is glazing, washing, whatever. I mean, again, you guys tell me, leave a comment in the comment section. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to use a lot of water on this heavy bodied paint, and we're going to thin this way down. But as we thin it way down, we're going to actually add a lot. We're not going to do like a thin glaze and do this multiple times. I'm using the actual tension, right? Because like we've talked about before, alcohol has a surface tension, water has a surface tension value, and so on and so forth. Liquids, okay, fluid dynamics or fluid mechanics, right? Liquids will, because of their tension, will pull in, okay? So they'll pull in together to make a drop, right? Anybody who's kind of did science class in high school. So what I'm doing is I'm using that scientific fact, right? As the water pulls in, you can see here I'm laying it on thick, and I want the water to pull to the middle of where I'm painting. Well, this does a couple things. One, it lays down really super smooth, like painting a car, right? Everybody, if you've ever painted a car, I have. The more that you get on that edge, that fine line of running the paint and just like really screwing up a car, right? The paint job, or getting it just wet enough where that paint lays so smooth, lays down so great that it's really high gloss and looks perfect. Well, that's what I'm doing here, is I'm laying enough paint into that area to get it to pull in using the surface tension, and then it lays down super smooth. And we do not touch the edge. As you can see, I leave it away from the edge, because as soon as you touch the edge, it will run into the edge and it just jacks everything up, to use a lack of a better term. So you can see that I'm staying not way away from the edge, but I'm taking it right to the point of no return, because if you touch the edge, it's over. Okay, so just go ahead and watch, and then at the end, when you see this and it starts to dry, because I'm going to go away and I'm going to play some music, but as this dries, you'll notice how it dries from the exterior edges to the interior, okay? And again, that's what we want, because it's that pulling effect, right? Where, again, the surface tension pulls it in as a drop. Okay, sorry, enough talking, but I just wanted to explain it. We're using a little bit of scientific process here. So, all right. Okay, so now that shoulder pad is done. Again, time to let it dry. And let me show you what I was talking about earlier. You see that spot right there, right in the middle? That was the first thing that we started painting. And you see how from the edges to the inside, to the middle, the edges are drying already, but it's still pulling in to the center. And that allows this to lay down really smooth. Again, no airbrushing needed. This is so smooth. I don't know how to explain it, but it works. Okay, so now a little bit of some P3 action here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start to detail out this armor plate. We can go ahead and do some of that without having to let this fully dry, as long as we're careful. And so the black wash with a little bit of brown basically turn that kind of light brass color into a deeper, richer color. So now what we do is we go back in and we start catching our highlights. All right, so this is a little bit of highlighting work here, and it's done. Let me bring it in close so you guys can check it out. Right, a little bit of aging, a little bit of shine, a little bit of, you know, around the rivets. I mean, that stuff to me, that's beautiful work. I mean, yeah, pat myself on the back. Sorry, guys, but I can't help it. Good paint jobs are just good, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the red, okay? And I want you to pay particular attention again over to the palette, right? My little plastic thing here. And I'm going to introduce even more water. So now I think we're starting to get into what people would call a glaze, where it's super, super thin and you just kind of go coat by coat by coat, right? And again, I want to emphasize, we're doing the shoulder pad right now, but I have to do every single panel this same exact way, this same exact technique, like every individual red and gold panel. So again, for the new folks doing this, if you think this kind of stuff you can just bang out in an afternoon and it's easy, again, I agonize over painting. It takes me forever. That's why I don't do commissions. I just can't do it. So my techniques are just way too slow, and I don't use an airbrush enough. All right, let's get the trusty little red pointer out. And as you can see, I had to move this forward quite a bit off camera. I got a tournament that this was supposed to go to. So at the showing of this video, we've already been to the tournament and it's complete. So here you can see I've painted the pipe silver. I've painted some few other little details, like if you look at the little orc claw down there on the right hand side. Again, I just had to move this forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick this up, and I'm going to get ready to describe the next stage, which is, again, more brush work, more details, and we're going to get into the opposite color. Okay, so when I say opposite color, we're going to go with a cool color. As you see, the lizard is desaturated, right? We went with a desaturated color. We went with a hot color in the cadmium red light. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go on the other side of the color wheel, and we're going to grab some blue, okay? And we're going to do the little tabs. I don't know what you would call them, the little kind of things on his back, spikes or spines, the little Godzilla things, right? Again, my son, he kind of made mention to me that, oh, when this thing was done, he's like, oh, it looks like Godzilla charging up, getting ready to fire blast somebody, right, with his little blue heat flame or whatever. So, but yeah, so what we do is spin this around. You can see we've already got a little blue action on the tail, right? Little blue action on the legs, little purple action underneath for the tail, on the underbelly side of the tail, that we're going to go ahead and touch up, and we're going to go through again. But yeah, so let me go ahead and let me paint some of this stuff, and we'll come back. For this next phase, what we're going to do is we're going to bust out the warm gray. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get back into the gray blue. And then finally, we're going to bring in a really hot color, going back to our heavy-bodied paints of a brilliant blue to really, really brighten up the top and the tips, right? So I'm going to go ahead, let some music roll, because we're just going to get right into it. At some point during the video, right, or as this is rolling, you're going to see me get into some black, okay? And we're going to bring in some ink, okay? That's just because I want the base deep when it touches the metal to be black, and then expand out to the blue, right? So anyway, here we go. All right, that's it for the third episode of this Chaos Knight Rampager painting series. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to keep painting this thing, and then we're going to come back, probably finish up the whole thing on the next episode and do a showcase, because I really, really want to get into my Tau. And this thing is now, this video and everything is causing trouble for me getting into my Tau. So, like we say, everybody, please hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and hit that like button, and tell all your friends on social media that I'm out here, that the Everyman's 40K channel is painting. And until next time, like we always say, may your dice rolls come up sixes unless you're looking for that one. Peace out, everybody.